Hello everyone, I'm George from Ireland. Welcome back to my channel. This video is about the Five Eyes Agreement and the recent announcement by the government of the United States that it will no longer be sharing intelligence with Ukraine. And one of the many things that the United States did that was vital to Ukraine so far surviving, in a sense, winning so far, in as much as it hasn't been conquered, it was the fact that they shared with them military intelligence that they know what Russian assets are there, where the next move is, what casualties they're suffering, what their strength is, things like that. And so it allows them to be a step ahead. Okay, of course, it's a bit easier if you know what your enemy's next move is, what their weak points are, what the strong points to avoid are. And no, I've never been in the intelligence community or in the military. It doesn't always work. Like notoriously, there's a fall of Crete where the British captured the entire German battle plan in 1941 about taking this Greek island. The German paratroopers, where they were going to land, how many of them, which assets they'd have with them, all that. So the British Army, I think together with New Zealanders and others, were there to give them a warm welcome. But the Germans still won. So it doesn't actually mean that you defeat them. If they're sufficiently well trained, well armed, in sufficient numbers, that in itself won't make you defeat them, but make it more difficult for the enemy. They'll suffer more casualties. And significantly, the Germans never attempted a large scale parachute drop again after that in the Second World War because the losses were so heavy. They attributed it to the fact that parachute attacks are somehow just fraught with danger and not realizing till after the war that the United Kingdom knew everything about the German plan. So this is going to make it a lot more difficult for the Ukrainians as they're outnumbered, not that severely anymore actually, but as they have fewer assets and so on, to know where the enemy's going to attack next, where they need to strengthen, where are they going to retreat here or there, the Ukrainians, because of that, and so forth. And therefore, it's going to stretch them even thinner. Since Trump's phone call with Putin, it's about a fortnight ago, everything he's done and everything he's said has been helpful to Putin. You might say, yes, but he's meeting with Zelensky. That's true. To browbeat him and tell him to capitulate, in effect, demanding no concession to the Russian side whatsoever. They don't have to withdraw from an inch of Ukraine, that they don't have to release any prisoners of war, that they don't have to release over 20,000 children are kidnapped, is the biggest case of child kidnapping since the transatlantic slave trade. Can you think of anything on that scale? Wow. Wow. Because, it's illegal even by the laws of Russia. Now, the Holocaust, obviously monstrous, murdering the little children. I mean, I suppose is that kidnapping in a sense? Was it arguably illegal by the laws of the Third Reich? I mean, maybe it was. Obviously, evil beyond words. But now, I mean, I know murder is even worse than kidnapping. And to be fair to the Russians, they're not actually killing these children, not that I'm aware of. But so nothing about releasing these children back to their parents. So much for family values, Republican Party. I didn't realize you're into splitting up families like that. Not that Russia has to disarm or anything like that, that they have to hand over their people to face war crime trials or pay compensation for all the damage they've wrought. No, 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 no. They don't have to do a single thing. It's victim blaming as usual. It's the victims. They have to make even more concessions. Wow, staggering. And obviously, because Zelensky's got very little choice, looks like he might have to make some of these concessions or face being completely annihilated. But back to Five Eyes. So in 1943, it was an agreement was made. It's really the Bruce Agreement, as in British United States Security Agreement, BRUSA, Brusa, as it's known, that they would share all their secret intelligence, all, and that is a core principle of it. And later, the Canada, Australia and New Zealand joined in. So it's been going since then. So their SIGINT, their HUMINT, and so on. So signals intelligence, listening on phone calls, hacking into emails, computer systems, whatever, various bugging devices, as well as human intelligence. Someone who is somewhere who sees and hears things. They don't actually have a sound recording or documents or whatever. So they can't always hack into every system. They can't always plant a bug everywhere, but they often happen to know someone who sees or hears whatever is able to report back. Obviously, human intelligence, a person could be lying, could be mistaken, could be a double agent who's deliberately feeding you misinformation, as well as some chicken feed. Chicken feed, true but low level or harmless information. Sometimes the chicken feed is information already known to the intelligence agency that the double agent's trying to deceive, because that's to prove his or her bona fides. Oh, this agent told us something. We actually know that's true. We can verify that. So this person's telling us the truth to try and earn their trust. You can't tell only lies as a double agent, because the people you're trying to hoodwink will quickly realize that you're trying to befool them by telling them a pack of lies. It's got to be mostly true. Otherwise, they won't believe a word you're saying. So, and they're obviously spying on Russia, many countries, but principally Russia. That's seen as the greatest peril to the world order. Lesser extent, China, Iran, all countries, and they spy on each other. I mean, it came out that the United States under Obama even was spying on the European Union, not a hostile state, but even friends spy on friends. Now, if we go back to around 2002, when Craig Murray was Her Majesty's ambassador to Uzbekistan, and he was very concerned about this. He said there was a lot of junk information extracted by torture under the tyrannical regime in Uzbekistan, and that the United Kingdom should not use it. It was tainted. It wouldn't stand up in court and so forth, because people were tortured into confessing to anything, into being pink elephants. And obviously, the Uzbek regime tried to pretend that every human rights activist, that every Democrat in Uzbekistan was an Islamist, was Al Qaeda, and that was usually nonsense. An attempt to besmirch the reputation of any reformers who wanted any human rights at all. And so Craig Murray smelt a rat about this one, but obviously the Bush administration lapped it up and seemed to fall for these lies all too eagerly, and letting the Karimov regime off the hook. And so there were many in the Americans who argued it's an unequal bargain. The United States, with 5 times the population of the United Kingdom, with almost 100 times the population of New Zealand, with such an enormous intelligence gathering apparatus, was able to give so much to the others who could give back very little in return. The United States having listening posts all over the world, the most sophisticated computer hackers to break into communication systems all around the world, and enough money, a flash in the cash, to get their agents inside the organizations they wish to penetrate, and they weren't getting enough back for it. But nevertheless, it's remained intact unto this day, and the integrity of it was continued partly because the United States has many pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, but sometimes that one piece they're missing, supplied by New Zealand or Canada, whoever, is vital. And so for the sake of that, they carried on with it. And then if you lose this agreement, you might never get it back when you really need it. So they continued with that system. These 5 Anglophone democracies, that they had some shared heritage, and it was important through the Cold War. But they do share to some extent with other countries. There's an expansion to 9 Eyes, the Netherlands, France, Denmark, Norway, even 14 Eyes, which is Sweden, Spain, Germany, Italy, Belgium, and so on. But anyway, and there are other countries which are part of broader intelligence sharing. So it's bad news. Could it be the beginning of the end for Five Eyes, as NATO is in serious danger of breaking up? The United States talking aloud about withdrawing from it. Wow, that'd be very worrying indeed. And they said that now that any military intelligence that the United States shares with other countries in the Five Eyes, they mustn't pass it on to the Ukrainians. And of course, these other Five Eyes countries will be reluctant to do so, because if the Americans find out, will they pull out of Five Eyes already? They say they share everything. Do they share everything? I doubt it, actually. They don't share the fact that they were spying on European Union countries under the Obama administration, but that came out in the wash anyway. That's one of the about these secrets, is you can't expect something to be secret forever. Secrets almost always come out in the end, even if they're not confirmed. So it's yet another bad sign for the transatlantic relationship. I was surprised that even Trump referred to the special relationship, especially to the United Kingdom. It's not that special to the USA, but kind of be worse without it. And the other thing is, you can't trust Trump with intelligence. The Israelis told them something, which he blurted out in front of the Russian ambassador in his first term. So he's such a loose cannon, clearly got Alzheimer's. Well, thank you for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate to PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodaloo.